what we're going to serve for you today is a nice surf and turf. We have a nice juicy tomahawk steak along with a surprise for everybody today. Today we're going to be cooking live lobster. So we're going to have lobster and as well as the tomahawk steak. I guess they wouldn't say that. Okay, so this is the first installment, so if you hear some laughter in the background, that's great. That's what I want anyway. So tonight's dinner is going to be salad. It's already hand tossed. That's no frills there. We're going to have a baked potato. We're going to have the tomahawk steak. And we're going to have the lobster. Okay, so right now, the baked potato is going to take the longest to cook. And I want to do this with the least amount of edits as possible. So what are you going to need? You're going to need a large pot for your lobster. We're also going to need a griddle. If you hear some crashing, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. A nice cast iron griddle. You're going to need one of these in your travels of cooking. You can get it at home. It's fantastic, okay? So now, that's what we're going to use for our tomahawk steak. I also have a grill outside that we're going to finish our steak with. So let's get right to it. So the first thing we want to do is cook our baked potato, because a baked potato is going to take about an hour to cook. You can cook the baked potato in the microwave. You can, I don't know, your preference. But today, since we're doing this production, we're going to cook our baked potato in the oven. So what we need is some olive oil. Perfect. Some olive oil. And we're also going to need some salt. So what you're going to do is give a nice generous dousing of the olive oil on your baked potatoes. I like to use gloves just to try to keep my hands clean. So I'm gonna rub the baked potato with the olive oil, rub the baked potato with the olive oil. And traditionally, what we used to do was put holes in the baked potato for it to cook quicker, but I'm not sure if that's going to make the skin of the baked potato more permeable. So now we want to also rub on some salt to our baked potato. How much? A nice generous portion of salt. A nice generous portion of salt. My wife is off screen giving me a bunch of kisses right now because she wants me to do so well. Anyway, so we're going to put a whole lot of salt on the baked potato. Nice generous portion of salt on the baked potato. So that's nice and done. You're going to take and by the way, this recipe is not my recipe. I've looked online to figure out how to cook a tomahawk steak. So I will give you the address to the website that I use. cut the top off of the garlic, as they said to do. Put the garlic in there. Put a little bit of olive oil on top of the garlic. Wonderful. Wonderful, fantastic. We're gonna wrap this up. And it is going to bake along with our baked potato. The baked potato is going to be in there for about an hour. So after we finish with this, we can go ahead and start to prepare for our main course, tomahawk steak. Let's clean up a little bit here. And like I said, I wanted this video to go at the speed so that you can cook along with me. Just pretend you're in a studio audience in this Chef Kamal Lagasse or something like that. Bam! All right, so now we're going to clean up a little bit here so that we can make room for our tomahawk steak. Now, okay. All right, so this is our tomahawk steak. Now, my wife is laughing at me. Anyway, when you go to buy a tomahawk, this is the first time I've ever purchased a tomahawk steak. This is the first time I've ever cooked live lobster. Cooked crabs before. We're from Maryland. We love crabs. But it's the first time that I've cooked, that I'm going to cook a live lobster. I have no idea how it's going to go, but we're going to try it. So now, when you buy a tomahawk from the internet, because my initial profession is not a chef. I'm not a chef, I'm not a cook. I work for healthcare, but I love and I have a passion for cooking. So we're in the same boat here. So now, this tomahawk here, what do you look for when you're looking for the tomahawk steak? So now, you're looking for marbling. You don't want to have a whole lot of meat because you're going to need that fat to soften up to tenderize the meat. I think I heard Gordon Ramsay say that. Anyway, it might not have to tenderize the meat, but he did say, look for a great marbling. So this is a good looking tomahawk steak. The second thing you want to do is, because I've seen this on Top Chef many times, you know, overcook the meat while your middle is red and it's undercooked. So what the internet chefs told me to do, which I'm going to listen to and I hope you listen to as well, is bring your meat down to room temperature. So therefore, the middle isn't cold and undercooked while you're charring the outside of your tomahawk steak. Another thing that we have to do is prep the pans. The tomahawk steak is going to go on a cast iron pan that's extremely hot. Now, if you have one of these type of pans that you're going to cook your tomahawk steak in, all bets off. I have no idea how your steak is going to come out. Run down to At Home, get yourself a cast iron pan, and then replay this video from this point. So I'll give you a chance to pause. Fantastic. Now that you've paused and you've got the appropriate cookware, let's continue. All right, so, and also, we're going to put our lobster in some boiling water. So we're going to do that now. Let's get some water in there. And it's important for you to measure out how much water you put in there, because the lobster connoisseurs in Maine said this, that when you boil your lobster, for every quart of water that you have in a lobster, you need a tablespoon of salt. You need ocean water to boil your lobster. Didn't know that. Know it now. So I'm going to measure out my water. I'm going to put a gallon of water in there. A gallon is 4 quarts, I believe, so therefore I need 4 tablespoons of salt. And I want to get that up to a nice boil before we put the lobster in there. I'm not even sure if both of them are good, but we're going to try. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. How are you? How are you doing today while we wait for our water to fill up? Yeah, my wife is telling me to prep my pan, so let's do that. And it's a cast iron pan, so don't be afraid to really, really let that pan get extremely hot. Let it get extremely hot. You want that water to sizzle. You want that meat to sizzle when you pour it in. So now in goes a gallon of water.
Do you need butter?
Fantastic. No butter. It's just water. No, we don't. So this pan is just going to heat up. We don't need any butter or anything in there. We're going to put our salt in our lobster pan and bring that up to oil. So we got 4 quarts in there. Tablespoon, we need 4 tablespoons of salt. 1, 2, 3, 4. The lobsters, in their journey to the other side, they want to be reminded of the salinity of their home. So you want to make sure that the lobsters are very happy in their final seconds of life. And I want to do whatever I have to make sure that they're happy. So now, we're back to the steak, tomahawk steak. Let's cut open the package. It's room temperature, so we are good there. And you know what? I know better than this. What I know better than is to have my raw products anywhere close to my meats. So I want to make some space here. We also got to remember that the baked potato went in at 340. So we're honestly looking at about 440 that baked potato is going to come out, which is no problem because it's going to take us about a half an hour or so to cook this tomahawk steak. And then we also want to let it rest. That's important. Gordon Ramsay told me that. It's important to let your steak rest. I was about to say something else, but we got to keep this clean. Look at that. You know, and when I purchased this meat, the gentleman that was behind me called me his hero. He saw me walking out with a tomahawk steak and he said, put his eyes down, "You're my hero." I said, "Thank you. Thank you very much." Okay, so now what I've learned from the internet is this. Because like I said, this is the first time I've ever touched a tomahawk steak. I've seen it on some season of Top Chef, but I've never touched it. Is this muscle right here, whatever it's called, helps keep, it's the ribeye portion of the cow. So this muscle keeps the ribeye intact. That if you cut this muscle off, the ribeye might fall off the bone, which is the aesthetic appeal of having a tomahawk steak. It is a beautiful piece of meat. We want to keep that bone intact. So, but they did say there's going to be some fat on there that you really want to cut off. So I'm not going to cut too much because I'm not a chef, but I'll cut off a little bit of this fat. What the pitmaster said is if you cut off too much fat, that your steak is going to fall apart. We don't want the steak to fall apart. So I'm kind of squeamish. This is about all the fat that I want to trim. You might want to be adventurous and cut off this part of the steak, but then you might destroy a very expensive, beautiful cut of meat. All right, so now the next thing what we want to do is we want to season the tomahawk steak. How are we going to season it? Real steak people, this is all we need. Actors and imposters. Actors and imposters. We don't need that. Actors and imposters. Throw that in the trash. We don't need that. What do we need, America? Salt and pepper. Dramatic pump. Oh. Back at you. No commercials here. We are going right through it. Okay, so now I know you got your tomahawk laid out, and you're like, oh, come on. Let's season this thing already. Generous portion of salt. Zoom in on all this salt that we having down here. Don't worry about it, it's going to fall off. But this is a very thick piece of meat, so it's going to take a lot of seasoning. I really should have salt and peppered the side. All right, so now we're going to put some pepper on this side. To your taste. But remember, again, it is a very, very thick piece of meat, so it is going to take a good deal of seasoning to make this steak happy. We have our pan on the stove, and actually, you know what? I want to turn on this burner as well, because we want to get that water to a boil. So we need to turn this over, and we have to pepper this side as well. I graduated from YouTube and University. So YouTube University taught me this, that when you want to season the side of your tomahawk steak, just put some pepper on your cutting board. And we're just going to use that to stop it right up the sides. So I'm going to put some salt and pepper on the cutting board here. Put on some more gloves. And I see the pan up is smoking hot, so we like that. We are going to season up that portion. Now, to preserve your tomahawk from bone from burning, what we want to do that I also learned from YouTube University is to put a piece of aluminum foil over the bone. So we're going to take this aluminum foil, take a nice piece off, and we are going to wrap our bone in aluminum foil so that it does not burn. Ooh. And I'm gonna tell you something. Learn from my mistake. When I lift this bone up, you see it moving around in the meat, so you got to be very, very careful, because this bone can slip right out if you handle it too rough, okay? And then you'll just have a ribeye, a very expensive ribeye. All right, so now our pan is nice and hot. And it is about time to begin to char our tomahawk steak. Yes, that's what you want to hear. Now, at this point, at this point, these silicone gloves come in handy. And really what we want to do is get some nice grill marks on this tomahawk steak. So I turned the heat semi down, but we're looking for grill marks here. So I'm going to leave the steak on here for a minute or two per side. And also this area of the tomahawk that has a lot of fat to it, we want to render that piece down as well. So we're actually going to hold the steak as we cook this portion of the steak. All right. So now for my grill marks, we need to cook it 5 minutes on each side. And so I'm gonna cook it for 2.5 minutes, and then I'm gonna do a quarter turn for another 2.5 minutes, and then we'll flip it to the other side and do the same thing there. All right, so now is a good time to clean because we have raw juices on the countertop. And now we can start talking time. So all of the internet, when you're preparing your tomahawk steak on the internet, everyone prepares their tomahawk steak medium rare. And that's fine. I haven't reached that point yet. At the point in my life, I can do steak medium. I don't know. So I'm gonna add a little bit extra time to cooking this tomahawk steak. If you want to know, 5 minutes on each side, and then we're going to put it in the a convection oven for another 12 to 13 minutes each side for the tomahawk steak. So if you do all of that math, we're looking at between 30 and 40 minutes for this piece of steak to cook. Very thick piece of meat. Again, we're going to clean up and use antibacterial cleaner to clean our work surface. Keep it clean. And if you have a big enough countertop where you can keep one part for the raw ingredients and another part for the cooked ingredients, that is the best. That is the best. So right now our steak is cooking and it smells good, it looks good. The silicone gloves here. Just making sure that we're getting our grill lines that we want. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is try to quarter turn.
You're supposed to leave steak from regular steak when you start with the super steak. And not touch it.
Okay. All right, so our water is getting to a nice boil for our lobsters. Now, I did my research about lobsters online as well. And what they said is for a pound and a half lobster, you want to cook it for 18 minutes. Well, we bought a lobster that's 2.25 pounds. So the lobsters that we have are extra large. So I'm assuming that we should keep it on for extra time. So we want to keep it on for 19 to 20 minutes. And then the lobster should be done. So now, let us clean some of this stuff off. I'm just trying to get my cooktop together. Yeah, I'm gonna turn my.
Remove the chemical.
And we're going to quarter turn this bad boy to have a nice grill, crisscross grill mark. We have that going, and I think what we have to do is now prepare our lobster. So let's get him out. Now, like I said, I am from Maryland, and we like crab. This is a staple from Maine. So we have our lobster brothers here. Lobster, one of them bisque, and the other one tail. So we got bisque and tail here. And yep, he's moving a little bit. Yep, he moved. So we're good to go. We are good to go. So now, lobsters come in whatever we're from. Oh, let's flip these before we start to talk about the lobsters. Just make sure they don't go anywhere. If they do, let me know, please. Look at that grill mark there. Look at that. That's how a tomahawk needs to look. Can you see that? Can y'all see that? Can y'all see that? Can I get a pat on my back? YouTube University never failed me, hasn't failed me now. So anyway, now let's talk about the lobsters, what I've learned. This is what I've learned. This is my first time cooking lobster. So I did a lot of research. You don't have to do the research. You can come here and learn from this inexperienced home cook here how to prepare your $100 lobster. All right, so they come in either hard shell or they could have recently malted soft shell. They have two different types of claws, which one of them is supposed to be a crusher claw. I don't know, it looks like YouTube University lied to me there because they look like they're the same size claws here. But anyway, I don't know, I might have slept during that class. But anyway.
One is thinner, one is fatter.
Oh, and also you should be able to tell whether your lobster is female or male according to their genitalia. I'm not really interested in whether they're female or male, so I'm not really interested in looking for their genitalia. However, if you are, YouTube is a spot for you, okay? So now, with our water, nice and hot, I actually want the water to come to a slow boil. So therefore, I'm gonna leave that for another couple seconds. I need something to put over this pot just in case. Like a little weight. Something tell me that. Now, another thing. If you notice, I'm using actually a crab pot to cook the lobster. You actually want to use a lobster pot. However, I'm not sure how this is going to go, so before I invest in a lobster pot, we'll try a crab pot. The only problem is it's shallow, quite shallow in depth. I'm not sure how these guys are going to like being cooked alive, so I'm going to be prepared to put a weight on top of the lid just in case they want to peek their heads out and say, you know what, I'm not about this life and want to creep out of there. While we are going to give our tomahawk steak another quarter turn here. That's fantastic. Oh, fantastic. So we got the weight. And now it is time.
Make sure you set the timer.
All right, so it's 4:01, so we're looking at about 4:20 to.
The antenna's out.
Yeah. So now we got both of them in there. Let's put that there so they can't get out. Our lobster's on. It's 4:01, 4:20. It is time to take them out. So now we focus back onto our tomahawk steak. It's looking good, the marbling is there. So now I want to begin to flip the steak so we can cook the fatty portion and render that meat. We're going to hold this here. Yeah, this thing is popping. It's popping all over my arm, but sometimes you got to man up. You got to man up and take this pain. This is all, you know what? I'm thinking about my wife here and how much I love you, baby. You know, I will take the popping for you, babe. This is a symbol of my love to you. So this is a very important step to cook this fat here. So we can render this meat nice and tender. Render this meat nice and tender. All right, so let's see how we look. It's nice and golden there. So now I think we are ready to take this out into the Traeger, the grill. So let me put on some cookware. All right, so now we are in Maryland. It is a day before Valentine's Day, and if you know, it is snowing outside. So therefore, I had to put on some appropriate attire. If you see me fall, please don't laugh. It's very slippery. So now what we're going to do is take the whole tomahawk steak, and we're going to put it right on the grill here. Put it right on the grill. We'll put that, and we're going to cook that for about 13 minutes per side. We're going to cook that for about 13 minutes per side. I'm going to take off my snow boots because I don't need them in here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to prepare for, you hear some clicking and clacking, that's my dog. She just wanted to be a part of the action, which is no problem. We're going to clean our countertop again because we have some raw lobster on the countertop. Make sure that's nice and clean. I remember Hassett way back in my younger days working in the kitchen in a retirement home. You got to keep your work area clean. So that's what we're planning on doing. So we won't get ill and blame it on the coronavirus. So now here, so what are we going to use for our baked potato? We're going to use some, and don't get on me, yep, mild cheddar that's pre-shredded. I do have some fresh mozzarella that we're going to shred ourselves. Some green onions, some scallions, and some sour cream. Now the website that I looked this up on, so you can use sour cream or you can use some creme fraiche. Now I heard Gordon Ramsay say creme fraiche. I've never heard about it or seen it in my life. So I'm gonna stick with what I know. What I know is sour cream. So we're gonna go ahead and use the sour cream. We can prepare for this by putting our ingredients into a bowl that we are eventually going to scrape out our baked potato into and mash that up. So here, measured portions, I have no idea. This is to taste. So I don't know. You might like your baked potatoes extra cheesy. Put extra cheese in there. If you don't, then don't put extra cheese in there. However, what I like about my baked potato is the taste of potato. So even on the internet where I got this recipe from, it was just a little bit too much going on with the potato. So I'm going to scale that back a touch. They actually put, and it looked really good. I don't want to say anything was wrong with what they did. It was a great looking baked potato. They fried up some bacon, cut it into bits, and used bacon bits in there. So there's other things that you can do to your baked potato, however you like to eat your baked potato. Me personally, just give me some cheese, some butter, a little bit of sour cream, and let the potato do the rest of the work. So here we got some mozzarella, so let us let's turn this down a bit. Got a little overboil there. I don't hear anybody knocking. So that's good. They must be having a party in there. Thinking it's a sauna. All right, so we got our fresh mozzarella cheese grated up here. We're gonna put that in the mix. Set this off to the side. Eventually get a bag for that. Now we got to cut up our scallions. And the fun thing about scallions,
Timber.
nice and washed and clean there. The fun thing about scallions is that if you keep the end pieces, you can actually replant them and grow them again. I think everybody in the world knows that, but that should be enough of them. Put our scallion mix in there. And honestly, that's all I'm looking for in my baked potato. So, one thing we have to add to that mix is the baked potato, which I forgot how long it's supposed to be in there. I'm thinking 440. So we still have another half an hour to go for our baked potato. It's 420 for our lobster, and it's about 421 or so. Oh no. Before we start flipping our tomahawk. It's been out there for, I forgot how long. But we're going to say it's been out there for about 5 minutes. So we'll give it like another 8 before we flip the tomahawk. I heard something beep. Oh, it stopped. So I don't know how long. All right, so is your mouth watering yet? Fantastic. Now it's a point where we're going to take out our baked potato, and then we'll be able to put a button on this meal with a nice salad and look into each other's eyes for the rest of the evening. That part of the presentation, you are not allowed to be there. All right, so here is our baked potato. Right now it is piping hot, so therefore we're going to give it a couple of minutes for it to cool down.
YouTube it?
All right, so now what I want to do is take a peek at the béarnaise sauce. And that's looking good. I'm afraid to keep it on some heat because I don't want to have that sauce break on me. And now we're going to go ahead and check on these tomahawk steaks. So let me grab a glove just in case I need to flip it. Maybe something else. I like cooking in the winter. It's just something about grilling in the wintertime. Look at that. Look at that. Looking good here. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and take that out. Alright, so here we go. Safety first, keep the silicone gloves on. Be careful, that juice in there. Okay, so now we take a look at the kitchen table. And if you take a look, that steak is absolutely juicy. So what I want to do is I want to get a close up on this tomahawk. It looks absolutely fantastic. We got surf and turf.